Chương trình này được bảo trợ bởi
Family Joy, tổ ấm y tế của mọi gia đình, 714 898 0765.
Hi, welcome back to the OC Health and Education Show on Little Saigon TV. I'm your host, Julie Yip. Today we're able to have two great guests to talk about the People's Guide to Orange County and also to highlight the importance of March Women History Month. We know that as women, there's so many responsibilities that we have at home and within our profession and our community. But today we have Dr. Thuy Vo Dang and Dr. Elaine Lewinick to talk about that great balance of home and life and work and also to enjoy the community. You have been able to teach me so much about this book. It's not just a regular guide. It is so much more meaningful and impactful. So I've learned that this book would be a history book for me, and it's a book for something that I can use to teach my kids as teenagers. Sometimes they just want a good boba. They want to go to a good restaurant, but they might need to know, the history behind this location or there's just this area. What does this book mean to you, Dr. Thuy Vo Dang? What are you hoping to accomplish from getting this book out there and to meeting the community?
Yeah, thank you for that question. And I just want to emphasize how much I've learned from working with Elaine, and I want to share that something that she's always said when we've spoken together is that once you learn about something that has happened in a place, right, you're changed. You can't not know anymore. And so that boba shop that might sit on land where there has been struggle, but there has been triumph and change, and people have pushed for rights, right?
Yes.
All of these stories that have occurred on the place that you go to every day and you may not even know it. I think there's so many instances of that in Orange County where not just our community but all the different communities that live side by side could really start to value and appreciate, right, the communities they're a part of more. So my hope, I'll transition to Vietnamese. Hy vọng của Thúy cho không những cho cuốn sách này nhưng mà cho những công việc mà Thúy làm qua VALA và Hội Văn học Nghệ thuật Việt Mỹ VALA. Thúy là I'm a board member and Arts Orange County. Là mình có thể tạo ra những cơ hội để cho cộng đồng giống như cộng đồng của chúng ta có thể có sức mạnh, có thể có câu chuyện lịch sử, câu chuyện của hiện tại, nó robust, complex, nó không có phải là những câu chuyện mà lúc nào cũng quay về chiến tranh hoặc là những cách mà cộng đồng của mình đã bị stereotyped, right? Thì lúc nào Thúy cũng hy vọng là mình có cơ hội để có thể tham gia vào những cái projects mà có thể nêu lên tiếng nói của cộng đồng của mình.
Yeah, cảm ơn. Dr. Elaine, the same question to you is, what does this book mean to you, and what are you hoping to accomplish? Because I'm so excited to introduce this to the community and also to make sure that they have opportunity to meet you.
We have this phrase in our introduction that's quoting a theorist who says there's stories that sleep in the streets. And I think about that because we have people who sleep in the streets, and so the stories that sleep in the streets, they're there in the places. There's the nuclear weapons that are buried under parks in Orange County. The fact that we used to have Chinatowns in Anaheim and Santa Ana that were deliberately destroyed. All those different stories that have happened here, they help answer questions that I think a lot of people have. Why don't we have more affordable housing here? There's all sorts of different questions. I feel like it makes it better when you know the stories that sleep in the streets. It makes you more a part of this place. And I'm the only white author, and I'm the one most often mistaken for the one who's been here longest, but I'm the one who's been here shortest. And I want to correct that. I want people to know that Gustavo, some of his family are recent immigrants, but some are not. And Thuy, who came here before me, people should know those stories. They shouldn't think that my co-authors are the new ones. We need to know how long we have been diverse. Not always in a way like it's a small world after all. It's not always been that happy Disney ride.
Yes.
It's been sometimes a struggle and a negotiation, and we can learn from that. And so knowing the diversity of our past helps us navigate the diversity of our present. And I think that's incredibly important.
So tell me that quote again about sleeping in the street.
Awaken the stories that sleep in the streets.
Awaken the stories that sleep in the street. That's so important because, you know, so many times I think when you walk by someone who is unhoused, who is homeless, sometimes it's just important just to say hi and just to take the time to even acknowledge their presence, but acknowledge their story. There's so many times when, you know, when my kids were young, I would, you know, ask the person, can I buy you something? What would you like from this restaurant? Instead of just buying something and just giving it to them, you know. So I think that's what it reminds me of, is that you're making this a book that allows the people who may not have a voice, or maybe these stories have been buried in our history, to amplify that and to say, you know, we can celebrate some of these harsh times, but also to see how far we've come along the way. Dr. Thuy, thank you so much for being on the show. Is there a message you have to address straight to the audience and tell them a little bit about your book signing?
Thank you. Yes, so our book signing is on Saturday, March 26th from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. All three of us, Elaine, Gustavo, and I will be there. So please come and join us. Libro Mobile is an independent bookstore in the city of Santa Ana. Their location is at the Bristol Swap Mall. So you can always go there and find our books there, but they will be selling books at the Alta Baja Market on 4th Street in Santa Ana.
And right now, downtown Santa Ana, it's actually a little bit hard to navigate. They're tearing up the streets to put in a trolley, and there's a lot of questions about how to redesign Santa Ana and for whom it is being redesigned.
Yes.
So it'll be a bit of a challenge to reach downtown Santa Ana to Alta Baja Market. But we want to support downtown Santa Ana's businesses, which have just come through COVID and now are dealing with this great disruption of the streets torn up. So we hope people will navigate those torn up streets and find us at Alta Baja Market. And Alta Baja is Spanish for higher and lower, which were the names of the different parts of California when it was all part of Mexico. And so we want to honor that part of our past too.
You know, and I think, you know, when you mentioned about Santa Ana, I think a lot of people don't realize that Santa Ana is also still part of Little Saigon. Because so many times when we talk about, you know, Little Saigon, we're just thinking Westminster, Garden Grove, maybe Fountain Valley. But many times people forget that Santa Ana has a richness and even a contribution in being a part of the Little Saigon, what we call Little Saigon, but also highlighting the history of the API community. Within that, as you mentioned earlier, that, you know, sometimes it got buried with everything that has happened. But I really thank you both for being on the show, for sharing with us this great opportunity to read about the book, to meet you at some book signing event. Julie cảm ơn quý vị khán giả của Little Saigon TV. Hôm nay Julie có thời gian nói chuyện với Dr. Thuy Vo Dang of UCI, là cái người curator of the Southeast Asian American Archive. Thêm nữa đó là Dr. Elaine Lewinick. Elaine Lewinick là một người professor của UC của Cal State Fullerton. Hôm nay hai quý vị đây nói cái việc rất quan trọng cho quận Cam của mình đó là hiểu thêm về quyển sách về cái lịch sử của quận Cam với quyển sách là People's Guide to Orange County. Nếu quý vị có thời gian thứ Bảy tuần này, đó là ngày 26 tháng 3, có một cái book signing. Nếu quý vị có thời gian tới tham dự chương trình đây, được gặp Dr. Thuy Vo Dang với Dr. Elaine, mà thêm nữa có Gustavo Arellano. Hôm nay đó là Julie muốn có để dành thời gian nói về tháng 3, đó là một tháng để dành cho phụ nữ, mà thêm nữa là mình phải xác nhận cái mỗi người phụ nữ mà giúp cho cộng đồng của mình, mà thêm nữa là mỗi người, mỗi đàn ông, mỗi đứa con, mỗi gia đình, một cộng đồng của mình, làm cho một phụ nữ đây có rất nhiều thành công. Một lần nữa, nếu quý vị có thời gian thứ Bảy ngày 26 tháng 3 lúc 1 giờ tới 3 giờ at Alta Baja Market, đó là in thành phố Santa Ana. Julie hy vọng gặp quý vị cuối tuần này. Julie sẽ tới tham dự. Hy vọng Julie cũng kêu hai đứa con của Julie tới tham dự luôn. You know, Elaine, I'm hoping that I can drag my kids along, because I know, you know, with children, it is a little bit of a drag in the beginning, but I know once they get there, they're going to enjoy maybe not just the food in the area, but also, you know, to eventually pick up this book more willingly, because this weekend Mom's going to make them go.
Excellent.
But I'm hoping that, you know, when they have this book in their home, that one day they'll open it up and one day they'll be more curious about, you know, these major landmarks that many of us may just see it as a parking lot, or maybe just as a tree, as you mentioned, that there's a lynching tree in Orange County, or maybe that they can stop by, you know, the most historic lesbian bar in the community, right? And I'm learning that, wow, there's so much history that I drive by and I don't get to recognize. So I want to thank you both for being on the show. If there are any last words or for the audience?
If you can't make it to our book signing, you can also follow us on social media. On Instagram, we are at PG, like People's Guide, and then the number 2, and OC. PG2OC. And Twee's going to be at one of the libraries on Friday, and we have a whole bunch more events coming up in May and June.
Yeah, that would be the place to follow us. So you can get, you can kind of follow along the public events that we're going to appear at in the next few months. And I'm just excited to get feedback from people as they read the book and perhaps have more ideas about sites that can be covered.
Well, I'm just hoping that you would have a children's guide, or maybe a guide for even my disability community that I work with. Because oftentimes, you know, like for me, I just joke about it that my attention span is kind of like a Dr. Seuss level. But I'm hoping that, you know, this can also give people opportunities to access information. I might look that I'm capable of reading a book, but oftentimes I actually need special ed accommodation. So I do text to speech. You know, and I think that's important for us, that we can expand our horizon and even expand our reach. So I thank you both for all your contributions, and, you know, continue to celebrate women's history every day.
Thank you, Julie, and thank you, Little Saigon TV.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Julie and Little Saigon TV and the audience.
Julie cảm ơn quý vị khán giả của Little Saigon TV. Julie hy vọng quý vị có thời gian tham dự cái chương trình đó là thứ Bảy tuần này, ngày 26 tháng 3 at Outer Ballpark Market ở trong thành phố Santa Ana lúc 1 giờ tới 3 giờ. Julie luôn luôn cảm ơn quý vị khán giả của Little Saigon TV và luôn luôn ủng hộ chương trình kiến thức y khoa, gia đình và xã hội. Cảm ơn quý vị khán giả.